Hey guys, Coach Coda here from Icons. How's it going? Just over here in St. Petersburg, we just finished our first couple of tournaments, and something's come to mind from our tournaments that I think is very common among rugby players. And I work with a few people online back in Australia, and it. I've spoke to them over the last weekend, and it's the same topic. Like it's when they make mistakes, how they lose focus, what have they got to switch on. And it's funny because in Australia, everyone talks about, you make a mistake, you got 30 seconds, 1 minute, something to kind of, rebuild or refocus, or a trigger to make you go back on. And everyone knows about it, but no one really talks about what the effects are and how much it is important to kind of, re-centralize your thought process to reset what you're thinking about. And I know kickers are very interesting because kickers get a full kind of 30 seconds to a minute to reevaluate their situation. But for everyone else in the modern context of footy, you make a mistake and normally it's like straight away you've got to be on. If it reloads and you get a set piece like a scrum or something to reset you, you kind of can brush it off, like you can dust it off. We have a cue over here that we use called dust it off. So if our boys drop a ball, they just dust it off and away they go again. Or if they miss a tackle, they dust it off and then away they go again. But sometimes you can't do that in a game. Like you make a mistake and then the opposition's counterattacking straight away, like you're on the ball. So for us, it's about talking about what that process is and what it does. And we work with a team psychologist over here, and I was chatting to her last week about it. And she was mentioning how there's two types of focus. And one is like laser vision. You switched on, you're on point, and then what happens is it starts to like spreading out. And as it widens, more things can come in and start affecting what you're going on about. And talking to the players back home, and I'll talk to the players here about it this week, is around about what they feel or what kind of comes into their head based on the mistake. And dusting it off can be something small or big. So imagine if that you make a mistake, you drop a ball, and then the opposition go and score. Or go 90 meters, 80 meters, 60 meters. You're under pressure, boom, 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 boom. That mistake inside your head will seem 10 times worse than actually the mistake on itself because of the consequences of the actions. Now that's big, especially if, let's say, you're attacking on the line and you drop it 10 meters out and then they go 80. Like that's a huge turnaround, potentially 14 points, 12 points for some. It's massive in the context of it. So it's really, really important to understand that the mistake itself, yes, it causes those consequences, but you can't get caught up in that mentally. But that's really hard because at the end of the day, you've let your team down, you've let yourself down, you've let the fans down, you've potentially cost your team some points. It's huge inside of the context. But dusting it off is a great start. Now, the point is dusting it off or a trigger like 1 minute, 30 seconds, something like that, brings the focus in from here and adjusts it back into the task at hand. Now, sometimes that task at hand isn't just an action, it could be an energy. And you see a lot of players when they make mistakes, they get down in body language. All right. Now that will actually spread through the team. So understanding that, yes, you've made a mistake, but carrying yourself in a positive manner is actually influential to the people around you. So, for instance, if I drop the ball and then I go like that, 3 or 4, maybe 5 other people look at me and go, fuck, he's dropped his head. Do they worry so much about the dropping of the ball? Or is it more important that, fuck, I've lost control of my emotion, right? That affects players more. So you've got to understand that making a mistake, yes, is a physical thing. They happen in every game. They happen all the time. But it's what you do emotionally around it that helps you refocus. And your focus could be, I have to be up tempo, I have to be confident, I have to be switched on. Sweet. You can do that straight away. It's a decision. All right. It's a decision to be down on yourself. It's a decision to be positive and aggressive. It's a decision to be lethargic and kind of flat. You make choices. Subconsciously and consciously, you make these choices. So it's really important for footy players to understand that you need to create a trigger in your life, something like a dust off or something like that, that starts a process. It's not going to fix it, but it starts a process. And that there needs to also trigger an emotional reaction. Not just, okay, I forgot about it, I'm moving on, it's not going to affect me. But you need to show that that action also increases your mood, because a mistake is infectious on a mental part to other people. So players around you start going, he's dropped the ball. All right, what happens if you drop it twice? They're going to start not trusting. But you need to show that your attitude, your positivity is through the roof. And I think basketball players are some of the best in the world at this. You see players get into shooting slumps, and they talk about one of the only ways to get out of a shooting slump is shoot. You know, it's the only way. You can't then start passing the ball or not shooting because you don't change that action. You don't correct it. You don't find your rhythm again. So it's really important for footy players to kind of take these notes and take these lessons around making sure you got a trigger, dust it off. If there's a technical correction you can make, you either do it right there and then, or you park it for later on after the game, and you can go through the video to do that. You know, but it's really important that you also be really conscious about your emotional state, and you can't let that wave happen inside the games of going up when it's good and coming down. Okay. And it's something funny. I spoke to a few players, you know, we scored some tries in our last tourney, and guys were celebrating after the fact. What we noticed is when the celebration was an extreme physical outburst, okay, it then compounded into errors after that. So the first outburst was great. The second one, it was still good. By the third one, they then lost focus on their roles and their job, because the emotional state that they took themselves into started creating the wave. Instead of being in control and laser vision, they started to spread out, all right, and get caught away with it. So it's really, really important that footy players remind themselves that if you're going to ride that wave, it's going to go up and down. So to actually stay in control of your emotions. There's nothing wrong with a physical outburst of appreciation, but be careful on where that's coming from. Whether it's just, yeah, sweet, we did it, or it's an absolute explosion, because explosions go both ways. So you have to be really, really careful of that. And I'm not saying don't celebrate and don't be happy and don't, you know, project yourself, but I'm just saying that a lot of players project themselves in a positive manner, but then don't understand that the negative is on the exact same spectrum, just on the other side. So it's really important for us guys to start learning about this, learning about controlling these emotions. What's some cues we can do on the field to kind of trigger our focus? And, you know, for us, dusting off, as I've said, is the start of a process. It's then starting to trigger what's the next thing I need to be focused on, not only emotionally, but physically as well, through my energy. And that energy carries on to, you know, not trying to take things on your shoulders to correct mistakes. You're in a team game. The team can help you correct mistakes, so lean on others to make sure that you bite into the team. And that's probably the biggest thing that I think gets missed a lot, is when an individual makes a mistake, he takes it on his own shoulders instead of using the 15 to 18 other people around him to kind of bind in and create that confidence so they can move forward together as a unit. Because at the end of the day, yes, it's an individual mistake, but it's a team victory or loss. So guys, that's it from me around dusting it off. This is going to lead on to some other topics. I know it's going to create some questions. If you have any questions about this, just slide it in the comments below. But that's it. Coach Curto, I'm out. Peace.